Hello, welcome to Nakhti by J.N.S. And today we continue with the Black American series. And we are on part 17, which will cover Black Americans in music and art. And Black Americans are globally known for their music and arts, so it's important to document the history as much as possible so that for generations, people of our historical and blood lineage can reflect on their ancestors, and so that we can reminisce on our ancestors today. So let's begin. So as we know, Black Americans have always been into music since the days of the Negro spiritual, but we're going to cover more of our modern day takes in music starting from 1910, which was the Harlem Renaissance. And the Harlem Renaissance started with the premiere of Granny Mame, The Writers of Dream, and Sama the Serenian, which were Negro plays. And the Harlem Renaissance, not only did they focus on theater, but also poetry and music and literature was very big. So during the Great Depression, it was this thing called the New Deal Federal Theater Project. And so the New Deal projects created opportunities for Black American scholars that wanted to document Black American music, oral history, folklore, and you name it. So one of the first scholars that wanted to document the Harlem Renaissance and the history of Black Americans in music and arts was anthropologist and author Zora Neale Hurston. So we are pretty much familiar with that ancestor, and she collated a lot of our information for us, as well as sociologist Louis Wade Jones and folklorist John Wesley Work III. And other scholars who participated was educator Willis Lawrence James. They documented all of this information, and it is now included in the Library of Congress. And we can get some of this information online, but many of the things I'm going to tell you are at the Library of Congress and can be easily researched. So the Harlem Renaissance grew out of the Great Migration to the North, as you guys know, and even before then. And industrialization was affecting the cities, so it created a whole new subculture within American culture. And it permeated literature, religion, discourse, music, and everything. So let's start with literature. So in 1917, Herbert Harrison was considered the father of Harlem radicalism. He founded the Liberty League and The Voice, which were newspapers, the first newspaper. And his organizations and newspapers were political, but they also emphasized the arts. He loved to include poetry by Black Americans. So Herbert Harrison's newspaper really solidified the Harlem Renaissance and promulgated the culture back in those days, as well as Alain Locke's anthology, The New Negro, which was considered the cornerstone of this revolution. The anthology featured several Black Americans and poets such as Langston Hughes, Claude McKay, Zora Neale Hurston, and Ann Spencer. And this was also the start of the poetry and the jazz in the background. That's when this started during this time. And many of the poets of the Harlem Renaissance tied in the jazz and during their performances. So that's how it started with, they sang the poetry and they got someone in the background playing the little drums and the little jazz to set the mood, set the tone, get the candles. That started back then. So the Harlem Renaissance also impacted religion. So during this time, the Moorish Science Temple of America became very popular, and this was established. Islam had came to Harlem, as well as the Black Hebrew Israelites were discussing their belief system, as well as people, making voodoo and hoodoo and Santeria more acceptable during this time. So the arts influenced those religions as well to an extent. Another component of Black American art that was inspired before the Harlem Renaissance and during the Harlem Renaissance was jazz and blues. So blues have been around for a very, very long time. It started in the late 19th century and obviously early 20th century. And the blues began to emerge as agricultural work songs, but they were turned from songs that were sung on the railroads and work, and were actually produced as records. And also, ethnographers found out that a lot of the blues was started, in prison by black men, by blues artists such as John Avery Lomax and his son, and they would record songs like the Rock Island Line, which was sung by Joe Battle and a group of convicts. So blues stemmed from pain and working. Again, it was the agricultural setting, industrial setting, prison setting, and this is how blues came to emerge. And it became very mainstream, and then that's when the development of desert blues began to take place. And that was sung by Hattie Ellis, and that's when people started to realize blues can actually be entertainment. This can actually be something that can be recorded. So as we know, W.C. Handy is sometimes referred to the father of the blues, and he was a black American composer and musician, and he studied various forms of music and traveled all around the country, and he composed and influenced different styles of blues, such as the Memphis blues, ragtime, and all of those things. Other people who were pioneers of the blues genre, and these are all black Americans, by the way, was Huddie Ledbelly. And he was born 1888 to 1949. Vera Hawes was another pioneer. So many blues singers, they made their living touring, and they did not really make a lot of these big time records, because a lot of the mainstream society, white people, would steal a lot of black music, give them janky deals, and take their records and try to record them, and whatever they heard in these clubs, they would try to reverse engineer it and try to put it out and steal their intellectual property. So this was a very big thing with the blues, jazz, soul. Actually, almost every black American genre has examples of intellectual property theft, janky deals. This is just something that the black American has always had to deal with. And still, as you can see, the music is still one of the most influential in the world. So I want to honor some more of our blues singers, like Bessie Smith, she was born 1894 and died in 1937. I want to honor Gertrude May Rainey, 1886 through 1999. They popularized blues across the racial divide. So we can't talk about blues without talking about Muddy Waters, 1913 through 1983. We got Robert Johnson, 1911 through 1938. We have David Honeyboy Edwards, which is 1915 through 2011. We got the beautiful, talented Billie Holiday, which is 1915 through 1959. And of course, we got the B.B. King, who is 1925, and he's still alive, I believe. So all of these artists, these are the black American ancestors, and they pushed the blues in the direction, that formulated jazz and rock. So these were pioneers who used their brilliance and talent and song to soothe the hearts and souls of the black American, and it spilled over into influencing the broader American culture. So when people say, the black Americans, y'all don't have any culture, it's just simply ridiculous, because the blues genre came from the chain gang, literally, and damn agriculture. So this would have never happened had the black American not had that experience in America. So that's where blues stemmed from. And then all of the singers and they sung about their pain. A lot of these people, they was shooting up, some drugs, to deal with the extreme pain that they were in, and making those belly aching, heart aching, amazing music. Like these blues songs, when you listen to them, you could feel the soul of these people. You could feel the soul of my ancestors in every single last one of these songs. And that was what blues was about, was expressing the soul. And that's just the way the black American is. We like to express our souls. Very, very emotional people. Something that we do have to work on as far as too much emotion, but by and large, that is just the way the Black American is. We like to express our heart and soul through music and the arts. So now that we talked about the blues, let's remember those ancestors who started blues. We gotta remember them. Now let's talk about some jazz. Now we know the Black American loves jazz. That's actually my favorite genre of music since I was a kid. I never was a fan of rap. I was a fan of the conscious rap, of course, but I never, like, I was listening to damn John Coltrane when my friends was listening to, Pretty Ricky and Lil Wayne, all that craziness. I've always had a deep connection to jazz in my soul. So we gotta talk about jazz because that is what the Black American loves dearly. So jazz, in particular in the Harlem Renaissance, it was, more accepted by more of the Black American elites, but also, all Black Americans of socioeconomic status did engage in jazz, and the traditional jazz band was composed of brass instruments and was considered, the symbol of the South. And they added the piano, which was considered an instrument of the wealthy. So the combining of those instruments really enabled Black Americans to create the jazz genre. And it really became so popular, and it was an all-time high innovation. So remember jazz performers and are some of our composers such as Blaque, Noble Silsey, Jelly Roll Morton, Lucky Roberts, James P. Johnson, Willie the Lion Smith, Fats Waller, Ethel Waters, Adelaide Hall, Florence Mills, Duke Ellington, Louis Armstrong, Fletcher Henderson, Sun Ra, John Coltrane, Thelonious Monk, Charles Mingus. These are our ancestors. These are Black Americans who literally, just tore the frame out of making this jazz genre and composing some of the most amazing music ever to exist even on this planet. So jazz is very, very important to the Black American. And as we all know about the Duke Ellingtons. He gained popularity during the Harlem Renaissance, and he was a gifted composer. People said Duke Ellington was like, he was amazing, and he was eccentric, but he loved to make his music. And during this time, believe it or not, this is when jazz started. Like, a lot of white people started to notice jazz and want to copy, and also wanted to just learn about, okay, why is Black people, coming up with something new? So it became very interesting to them. And even some white composers started to use Black American poets in their songs and started to, try to, do this jazz thing. So let's remember, like, all those jazz players that I just mentioned, let's remember our ancestors. Let's keep their name alive, because jazz was like the beginning of, like, the other genres that was birthed from it, such as like neo soul and stuff. So now let's talk about Black American gospel. Everybody knows the love that Black Americans have for gospel. I grew up listening to gospel. You can't tell me nothing about and a lot of us are not even Christian now, but we still know them damn gospel songs. We love Kirk Franklin's song Stump. You could not get no Stump, and and I'm gonna tell y'all this, and I always bring spiritual elements to all of my videos pretty much anyway. So again, it's a very unorthodox take on historical documentation at the scholarly level, and I'm okay with that. But one of the songs that even our ancestors love so much, and they can't get enough of, when the Black American play this song on the other side. I'm going to tell y'all something, and hear me loud. Now, all of us know this song, the majority of Black Americans, but I'm telling you, from the spiritual side, the ancestors have said multiple times, play that song for me, play that song. And guess what it is, Black people? Guess what it is? Melodies from Heaven by Kirk Franklin. Remember that song, Melodies from, I can't sing because, they doing all types of stuff with the copyright. But, they love that song. And that's a part of, the gospel genre, but we know gospel started way before Kirk Franklin. Okay, we got the Clark sisters. Now, you can't talk about gospel without talking about the Clark sisters and their anointed voice. Now, we all know that song, Jesus is a Love Song. Go and type that in YouTube right now, and you can see the black woman. She's belting out from her soul, talking about Jesus, but truly connecting into other dimensions and not being aware of it. Because a black person singing like, black people singing like that is just insane. Like, I could not believe them Clark sisters was singing that damn good. You know what I mean? Like, listen to that Jesus is a Love Song. Jesus, I think that's what it's called. Jesus Love. Yeah. Type that in YouTube and go listen to that performance where they performing it live. And tell me, you know, is those voices not anointed, and if there's not angels in the background listening? I know I sound crazy right now, but this is what the Black American does, you know, just naturally. We love gospel. And you can't talk, you know, we got the Kim Burrells, the Yolanda Adams. We grew up listening to all of that. And remember those songs, Brighter Day, and 99 and a Half Won't Do. All of these songs that we love. And of course, John K.P. You know, we love John K.P. I think he's still, all of these people is still alive, you know. And they influence Black American culture, believe it or not, because most Black Americans, we know a lot of these gospel songs, you know, and we enjoyed them, you know. The Precious Lamb of God. I haven't listened to these songs in about 10, 20 years, except for Melodies from Heaven. I do listen to quite frequently. Same with, I listen to Kim Burrell, and I listen to John K.P. Remember Fred Hammond. So we honor these Black American gospel singers because they really, you know, kept a smile on our face growing up as kids. They kept a smile on our parents' face when they were going through things. And sometimes, you know, that Sunday sermon with the gospel section in the sermon, you know, in that session that we used to have for about 30-40 minutes, and the praise and worship, you know, that really, you know, made so many Black Americans' day, and it's still making Black Americans' day. I don't know this, but I used to sing in the church choir as a kid, and I can actually sing very, very quite well. And when I say that made my day, that soothed my, I don't know, like singing in the choir was the shit, you know. And we used to sing, of course we used to sing Brighter Day, you know, and we used to sing it's so many gospel songs, but I used to be in 2 choirs. I was a Chautauqua County choir, and I was just, you know, in the Baptist Black choir where I was Black singing. And we loved it. And we used to go to rehearsal, you know, and sing on Sundays, the youth choir and the adult choir. So that's what I like to do. I used to be in the church choir and take it very serious, you know, love singing the gospel songs and listening to them. So some people, they speculate that gospel started in the South, and gospel has strong use of harmony. That's how the Black American composers, when they made these songs back in the day, even started in 1912 with Mahalia Jackson. So, you know, we focus more on the harmony and euphoric rhythm. So this is just something that we started. It became popular, you know, in 1940, but it was always something that we did. Gospel was always a staple for Black Americans. So now, you know, we want to remember the Birmingham Sunlights, you know, which was a gospel from Alabama. The Northern Kentucky Brotherhood Singers, we want to remember them. And Aubrey Ginn. So we want to thank all ancestors who contributed to the Black American gospel, as well as Black Americans who are still alive, who have soothed many Black Americans' hearts throughout the whole world, including Kirk Franklin, who came up with so many songs that we love, and Mary Mary and all of them that we love to sing to this day. Now, many of us, again, not even Christians anymore, especially the millennials, we're moving more towards traditional African religions, you know, hoodoo, and all types of other stuff that we like to do. Some of us are moving to Ifa and all this, but we still are singing these songs to this day because those songs have changed our lives, and they are a part of culture, not just like religion. Like, these are like cultural staples. Like, you cannot, avoid Black American gospel if you're a Black American. And other staples besides gospel, we covered blues, we got gospel, we got jazz, of course hip hop. But then actual staples such as like the Motown Records, which was founded in 1959 in Detroit, Michigan, and obviously that label focused on Black American artists, and it helped establish Black singers in the whole global cultural scene, because it styled a very certain style of soul music, which combined R&B and gospel and elements of gospel. So this is where R&B started to form. And remember, and again, I was a kid that could not really relate to a lot of the music that was in my time, like 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, like stuff that was out that my friends would listen to. I really because I have a very old soul, and I did not like the aspect that the Black American music culture had started to turn to during that time. I would say 2006 to now. Like, I would say after 2005, maybe I really couldn't understand like a lot of stuff that was on the radio. So I always cling to the Motown singers even to this day, and we know many of them include the Miracles, Marvin Gaye, and Marvin Gaye, that's our favorite, and he was born in 1939 and he died in 1984. Of course, you got the Temptations and the Supremes. Okay, in 1961 you had Stephen Hardaway Morris, who recorded at the age of 11, and guess what his name is? You all know who that is. That's Stevie Wonder. So we love Stevie Wonder to this day. He's still alive. He has a brilliant catalog of music. He is a freaking genius. And we honor him. And that is one of my favorite singers. I like Blue Magic. Remember Blue Magic? They was the shit. Now I don't know if he was Motown, but I'm just going off the cuff now. Remember Bobby Womack, Bootsy Collins. So that's literally what I listen to this day. Like, if you would come chill with me, and I mean, I like neo soul, like the Jill Scotts and all of that, and Mary J, and I listen to that. But if you really catch me when you catch me in my normal act, we got the Bootsy Collins we playing, the Bobby Womack, and those one of my favorites. And of course Marvin Gaye, the After Party. That's one that, remember the After Dance. Remember that song? And I Want You. Those are some of my favorite songs that I've listened to since I was a kid, because I was raised by an elder, my adopted mom, and honestly, that's all she would listen to in the car. So I honestly don't even remember like being able to listen to like say like more stuff in my age bracket, or that was like current, was a rarity. So that's another reason why I grappled onto that music, which is our Black American music, because I could not, again, I'm telling you, I could not relate to the stuff that was on the radio, except for like Destiny's Child, like Cisco or something like that. But when that rap started to just really take a turn for the worse, when it really just got so ridiculous, when I started hearing about shooting up and killing and all this craziness and slapping your mama up and all that, I really could not take that. Even as a kid, I just knew it was low vibration for our people and actually ruining our culture. So I didn't play that. And I'll listen to the Mos Def. Mos Def was the shit back then. He's still the shit, and Black Star was cool with Talib Kweli. I don't know what he up to now. I hear he done lost it. Common, all of those neo soul, Jay Dilla. We can't talk about Black American music without talking about Jay Dilla. Now he's a producer. He produced many of y'all favorite hits, and he produced shit for Kanye West. Even on his deathbed, he died. J Dilla died. He was big with Slum Village. He produced a lot of their stuff. He produced Common stuff, Erykah Badu, The Roots, you know. So J Dilla was really big, amazing, very talented. So look up J Dilla. He is a producer. He got a lot of beats out. You know, Dwele, J Dilla and Dwele did a lot of stuff, you know. And Dwele is one of my favorites too. So growing up, if it was current stuff I was listening to, that was definitely it. Like, I remember being a teenager listening to J Dilla very heavily in Dwele. Like, and again, I remember my friends kind of looking at me like, we listen to Trey songs, you know. And it's no knock to, you know, I'm not trying to knock the current stuff at all, because everything has its place in this universe. But sometimes I feel sometimes out of place, you know. So as far as my age group, so I just gravitated towards the neo soul type stuff, and of course, you know, the old school, so let's get back on track. I know that was a tangent, but remember, we're on Motown Records and rhythm and blues, Black Americans and R&B. And I want to talk about more of our ancestors and Black Americans who are still alive, you know, who were on Motown. We want to honor Jimmy Ruffin, the Originals, Gladys Knight and the Pips, of course, Martha and the Vandellas, the Velvets, the Spinners, the Monitors, and Chris Clark. So some of these are not as popular as, you know, like the Gladys Knight or the Supremes or Temptations, but we honor everybody that contributed to Black American music, in particular R&B, jazz, and, you know, all of these things. So let's keep going, because Motown was huge for Black Americans. The Four Tops, of course, the Jackson 5, the Commodores, Rick James, and even more, you know, recent Motown names like Boyz II Men and Johnny Gill. We all know who that is. And 702, they were, you know, during the final years of the Motown label, before it was absorbed into Universal Music Group. So that is Motown. Motown, you know, they had a Motown sound, which was referred to as like a soul music. It was actually a trademark. They used tamarines to accent the backbeat. They use electric bass guitar lines and chord structures and call and response singing style that can only be found in Black American gospel music. So that is the Motown records. We covered R&B and soul music, and now we're going to do hip hop. Hip hop was a brilliant invention, you know, to really deal with, you know, they had a very much revolutionary aspect when hip hop first started. That's why you hear the songs "Fight the Powers That Be." You know, it was a cultural, it was an art movement, but it was, you know, created, you know, obviously by Black Americans in Bronx, New York City. A lot of other immigrants are trying to like claim that they created hip hop when they have no genre that can't even be found in their own cultures. If they created it, you would be able to go back and look at their country and see elements of hip hop before Black Americans collated it into an actual new genre. So hip hop music obviously includes rap, and rapping and DJing and MCing, you know, and a rhyming style, which we pretty much all know. You always have the DJ mixers, got beatboxing, and of course you have the fashion aspect of it. Hip hop has a fashion aspect. It has a cultural aspect, such as block parties, spades, you know. So even though hip hop, you know, is obviously a music genre, it has very much a subculture that was started by Black Americans. And hip hop used to do a lot of sampling, you know, of classic records, and they will flip them, you know, in hip hop culture. So that's how you know the Black Americans started, because it started by taking blues, jazz, and funk music and sampling it to, you know, the beats to make new music. So in 1990, Ronald B. Stinger Savage, which is, you know, which is a former member of the Zulu Nation, is credited for coining the term the 6 elements of the hip hop movement. which was inspired by Public Enemy's recording. So the 6 elements of the hip hop movement are consciousness awareness, civil rights awareness, activism awareness, justice, political awareness, and community awareness in music. So he is one of the sons of the hip hop music. And to be honest, that's when, honestly, it got co-opted, because you talking about fight the powers that be, and it's like a jungles of times that make me wonder why I keep from going talking like the way black people were originally rapping. It had that consciousness element, telling black people you gotta fight. The Tribe Called Quest, you see, listen to some of their music and stuff, and it had a consciousness element in it. It truly did. And to be honest, that is more of the hip hop that I like and that most Black Americans like. And I honestly think it was systematically co-opted. I think that it was infiltrated by very powerful operatives that put their money behind it to kind of steer hip hop in a very toxic direction. And hip hop still always has that element of conscious awareness. You can still find people who utilize the 6 elements of hip hop. Always. You can always find that even today in 2020. It is not mainstream because they're not putting their money behind it. The closest we got, I want to say, Kendrick Lamar, as far as, just having that global mainstream power, and J. Cole, but for the most part, they took the soul out of that hip hop and made it reduced to a commodification of just commodity of just making money. And once you take the soul out of something, and you can just package it, you can find anybody on the streets, any nigga on the street, and say, hey, you want a record label? Hey, you want a record deal? Hey, come on. And sing these, even if they can't rap. We've seen this. We've seen today rappers in hip hop that have zero talent, rapping, becoming double platinum and all this craziness. You're like, how is that song good? And then you listen to the song and it's talking about toxic, wretched culture, stuff that the Black American is not even known for. A lot of these people are not even Black American. So something that was so beautiful and so powerful, such as hip hop, has taken the turn for the worse. And that's why when you hear me, I'm not trying to look down on like rap and stuff, because I'm listening to the J Dillas and the Slum Villages, and the Roots, and Black Thought in particular. So I'm very much in tune with my culture and community. I know everything that y'all doing around here because I grew up as a Black American, and I am bothered very much by the current stuff of our music, and I do know that, again, very powerful people have put their money behind this engine and will only allow certain things to go mainstream, and things that are most likely detrimental to the Black community and the Black family, the nuclear Black family, and Black women. So if you're going to ask me to co-sign a lot of the toxicity that I see now, I will not do it even in the Black American series, which is a documentation of our history. I'm not going to co-sign something I know our ancestors are not even really approving of, because they're not. But they do love, again, the 6 elements of hip-hop. Now, they on board with that. They love that to death. They like battle rap. Because guess what? Battle rap is the creative ingenuity of the Black American, which is also a part of hip-hop culture. Guess who is also a fan of battle rap? Me. Remember the King of the Dot? Remember Smack? URL? I mean, come on. The Queen of the Ring? I love Queen of the Ring. You can't tell me, so battle rap was the shit. And I don't know what's going on with it now, because again, once these operatives get behind our stuff, it kind of, to me, it ruins it. Because I remember when like Smack URL, remember with Loaded Lux versus Calico and all that, and it seemed to me to take that was like that was a great battle, obviously, but to me it seemed like battle rap just got too commercial. It just got whack. That's kind of just like the Versus, when the Versus was just Black Americans doing their own little thing during the quarantine, being bored. It was beautiful. It was perfect. Like Erica Badu and Jill Scott, we love just going on Instagram and just see it. It was the shit. And then they just, to me, I think Apple, somebody's behind it. I don't know who's behind it, but to me, it's just like the soul is just snatched out of it. It just seems so commercial. It doesn't have that authenticity to it anymore. I mean, we're still watching it because it's verses. It's like our favorite artists that we want to see go head to head, you know, at each other. Who got the best catalog of music? Which they both have, most people have awesome catalogs, you know. But it's to me, it's like with anything, and that's what the Black American has to work on, is gatekeeping and stop really selling out their culture. You know, really. Just some things is better, even if say like some say something like a versus, you need to make money off of it, and you want to sell tickets, you want to do a private streaming. You don't need a corporate backing for that. You don't need like these huge conglomerates that's going to, you know, suck the soul out of it. Just do everything yourself, and, you know, be independent. Just even like, you know, a situation with Bobby Shmurda, when you get out, you know, if you need some advice or you need, you know, someone to talk to, you know, you could reach out to me. But Bobby Shmurda, you learned one of the most craziest lessons that a black man would ever have to learn in this country. And I know that it was many black men that told you not to sign that deal, not to sign. Now, there's a lot of things with Bobby Shmurda that happened on a spiritual level that I always could sense. It always bothered me. You know, he's been in prison for like 8 years, and I think he get out next year. But the situation with Bobby Shmurda always bothered me. Not him, but I'm saying that situation. Remember that Hot Nigga song? Made that in the hood. What? Almost 100 million hits just off of his own talent. He didn't need anybody. And from what I understand and how the story go, and this may not be true, but he was making anywhere from $7,000 to $40,000 a month independent, just selling tickets and showing up to do the club show. So that was money that was his, 100% his. And, you know, people was telling him that were already in the industry, don't sign, just be independent because you're making your money. You don't need to, don't worry about mainstream. You're already mainstream. Hot Nigga was, everybody know that song, the Hot Nigga. And you know, just somebody called a body about a week ago, you know, all that stuff, that song. And it was a catchy song. And not only that, it's like the power of the Black American soul, where even if they sing it about something ratchet, could just be that worldwide. I think this song got like 500 million hits now. I mean, the song, I mean, come on. And we all knew about Bobby Shmurda. And next thing you know, he signs a record deal after being asked not to, you know, by credible people. Like, I don't know if he thought maybe they were hating on him, you know, or like, oh, y'all trying to stop me from, you know. But he ended up signing a record deal, and he went from making $7,000 to $40,000 a month as a projected kid in New York. In Brooklyn, it was from Brooklyn or Bronx or Harlem, so I don't know, but you know, in Brooklyn, to making nothing after he signed that label. And remember, he went on Twitter and was complaining, saying, "I want out. I feel like a slave. What the fuck is going on with this record that this deal that I signed? I thought it was for $1 million, $2 million deal, but really it was an advance against, you know, royalties or whatever else, and against anything that the artist spends." And they kind of just took his money. I think they might. Do we even own the rights to Hot Nigga anymore? Do we even own those rights? So you know, so he signed that deal and he regretted it. And them tweets got deleted. And somebody may have the screenshots, but I know for a fact I saw it because, again, I always followed him because I thought his case was I thought his ascent was interesting, the song was interesting. So just from a sociologist point of view, I just was like, this is interesting. And when we saw him dancing on that table for Epic Records, remember, and black people was calling it like, why would you do that for the white folks? It was nothing but white folks, and he dancing on the table with his black self. And remember that went viral. You know, I remember that. I think, was I in high school? No, I wasn't in high school. I was in college. I don't remember. But so, you know, we seen that, and we were kind of like, what are you doing? So people were trying to guide him and let it, because we all saw it. I saw it. I'm like, oh shit, he about to get ate up by the machine. And they're gonna have, I said they got cases, they listening to his phone because hip hop police is real. So I'm saying they watching him, they building a case, and if he don't do what they say, they're gonna throw his ass in jail. It's something behind the scenes that happened that he's not even able to say himself. And that's just a fact. As far as how when you don't do, next thing you know, they get a RICO against everybody, or they already watching you, and then say if you from the hood and you already engaged in some fuck shit, you know, it's not nothing to to pull a rank, you know, because they already got files, and they can make stuff go away if they want to. But if you don't, you know, say, you know, if you don't get in line, then you and your boys will go to jail. So again, that's stuff that I get from the spiritual side. It's not stuff that's, as far as, you know, the part where I feel that he went to jail because of something he refused to do in the background that we don't know of and that he will not speak on. And that's just from the spiritual side. Now, was they doing stuff they had no business doing? Bobby Shmurda himself didn't, but his crew was. And they was listening on them phones or whatever, and they built up a nice little case against them and threw all their asses in jail. And he's still in that deal, if I'm not mistaken. And how is he going to get out? And does he even own the rights to Hot Nigga? And what is going to happen 8 years later, since we haven't heard from Bobby Shmurda? We just had, you know, he's been in prison for crying out loud, so he hasn't been able to release no music. I think he did something with Tekashi 6ix9ine. He might have regretted that because of how Tekashi 6ix9ine went out, so we don't even know the outcome of that. But you know, Bobby Shmurda, a situation like that has happened with plenty of hip-hop artists. And I say this to say is, sometimes it's best to mind a business that pays you as black people, and we don't do a good job of realizing our own ingenuity and wanting to safeguard it. We look for the validation and approval of other societies who literally hate us and have no vested interest in, you know, doing anything that is in our best interest. So when we see a situation like Bobby Shmurda, and actually pretty much all black artists dealt with this, including Prince, where, you know, they could have made their own money, you know, like we said, from what I've read, Bobby Shmurda was making $7,000 or $40,000 a month, legal money. Do a show, get your punt, get money, split up the cost with the, you know, the event planner or whatever, and you're good. And that could have still been going on for the rest of his life. He could have still been making money off a Hot Nigga. He didn't get involved with all of this big music, you know, stuff, like, you know. And I remember when he had made those tweets, and I remember his mom said, oh, he's just dealing with success. He said, I'm doing these tours, but I ain't making no money. Where the fuck is my money? I was getting 40 racks a month, and now I signed with y'all, and I'm getting nothing. Where is my money? So soon after that, jail time. I don't know if y'all followed that whole situation, how some of us was looking from the esoteric point of view, and as soon as he made those tweets, and how his mom had to clean it up, and now he had to delete when he deleted those tweets, I said they gonna pull a rank on his ass and get that Hot Nigga song up out of him. Probably own it, probably own that publishing, and they're gonna get him out the paint for some years, because he's not doing, you know, he's bucking up against it too much. And granted, they already gave him the ammunition because he was in a gang, so it's not like they were innocent. You gave him the ammunition by you know, the friends that were you know, the song with some Mitch called a body about a week ago. They really listened to that and said, oh, let's listen to the phone calls. You know what I mean? Once they saw them lyrics and was like, let's tap these niggas' phones and see what else we can find on them, just in case we get something on them. They don't do what we say. Look, so black Americans, please continue to create, but make sure that you just don't always look so everything that glitters is not gold. So don't always look to the dominant society to validate your artwork when you are the arbiters and the creators of most art genres and artwork and within the last century, last couple of centuries. So you do not need to always sign up for, like with hip hop. What happened with hip hop? You know, oh, get a record deal. Ooh, I got me a $1 million record deal, and then you're broke as fuck the next couple of years. You know, and the way our intellectual property has been stolen, and how we have not benefited and owned, you know, a lot of these record labels. We don't own 100% own these things that other people are benefiting from that are not in our culture. So, you know, you have Bad Boy. I think he might owns that or whatever, but I think Def Jam was Russell Simmons, if I'm not believe. But I mean, who hands are all in that, you know? So we have some instances of black ownership, but we certainly could use more, you know. And as far as these black artists, don't become a slave. Don't sign no. Read your contract. Read your contract several times, as much as possible. And you want to end up in a situation like Bobby Shmurda, where you can make, you know, $10,000, $20,000 a month just off of your little YouTube hit. You know, you recorded it and put it on damn Discord, not Discord, what's the iTunes and TuneCore and all that. Put that shit up on there and call it a day and get your money. Just chill. And if you are going to sign, read your contract as much as possible 3 times with the lawyer. Get a dictionary out. Make sure the lawyer is not necessarily with the company, because they're going to look for the company's best interest. I read it 3 times. I mean, don't play before you sign that dotted line. Make sure you ain't selling your soul. Make sure there ain't nothing crazy there that say this contract is for perpetuity and everything you do outside of music is also owned by the. I'm saying, I've read some crazy ass contracts, and people try to, you sign up on one thing and they saying if you make anything, any invention, I don't care if it's a shirt, if it's a perfume, we get 50% of that and all that. Read your contracts, Black Americans, because as much music as we have produced, and much genres of music we have produced, we have also had a underbelly, a downside to our aspect, and that is people stealing our shit and putting us in slave contracts. Simple as that. So I want to talk about that because that happened since the beginning of time, since the Black American has been in this country. That happened with blues singers, jazz singers, R&B singers, gospel singers, hip-hop artists, R&B artists. So we're still dealing with that, Prince will tell you, he's dead now, he's our ancestor, but he spoke out a lot before his passing too. So we want to, for one, honor our ancestors by taking control over things we can take control over now, which is our artwork. And now you have modalities to get it out on the internet. You have SoundCloud, all types of things. And if you could push something and it just happens to pop, and it pops on the internet and we all bop into it, bet on the people that they'll come to your shows and put money in your pocket so you can continue to make money off your songs, and do it that way and build up your money and save your money that way, instead of signing some crazy ass deal. So we covered the Black American art. It is very vast. Black American music is so vast, it's unbelievable. We try to do as much as quickly as possible. Of course we have rock and roll. I forgot to cover rock and roll. Rock and roll is a big thing that started with Tina Turner and Richard. Little Richard. Little Richard just died, by the way. And Little Richard is a genius. I mean, he's the one that screams on those records. Tina Turner used to scream on her records. If you notice, rock and roll, when the white people started doing it, they scream on their records. It was black people doing that. Tina Turner is phenomenal. I mean, she's a force to be reckoned with, so we honor her. And right now I hear she in Switzerland, so she doing her thing, But Tina Turner, one of the most phenomenal, very inspirational to a lot of black women because of those, of course, beautiful legs, but talent, and then those beautiful features that she has, those Black American features, and that wig she would wear. So we love Tina Turner and Little Richard. I grew up always hearing about Little Richard. He's way before my time. I'm not really familiar with his music, but I know it when I hear it. I know his voice. That's how distinct he is. So he is an amazing ancestor to have. He's just passed away. So let's keep him in our memory as well, and let's take notice of our culture, of what we have done in terms of blues, R&B, hip hop, jazz, rock and roll, gospel music, the Harlem Renaissance, the literature, the poetry. And those are the things that we are known for. So the last topic of Black Americans and music and art that I want to cover is poetry. Poetry is very important to the Black American. And we remember, like a Maya Angelou and Nikki Giovanni. But poetry, for us, is really huge. And it's really huge for me on a personal level. I don't know if you guys remember, it was a show called Def Jam. It was a poetry night, and Mos Def used to host it. When I say that was one of my favorite things to watch, literally my favorite thing to watch as a young kid, because this was going on, and I think I was about 12, and when I say when Def Jam poetry came on, it was like I was like a kid in a candy store, being able to listen to those artists. So I want to thank Mos Def for even hosting that and putting on great programming, because they used to feature so many brilliant black poets that really, influenced my life and made me feel good as a child. So that is a part of Black American culture, is a poetry. So that was big in the Harlem Renaissance, but elements of poetry can be found in all of our music. It can be found literally in our culture, where we actually do poetry cafes where you can go and see the same thing that was similar to the Most Def Poetry Jam. So I personally I used to go weekly to the poetry cafe and see, you know, the poetry contest, the poetry slam, and all that. That's just something that we do. We go to these cafes and it just be a room full of Black Americans enjoying good poetry and drinks and food. So that is something I also wanted to cover. And we covered a lot of artists and a lot of people and a lot of things in this particular video. But I also want to shout out Nina Simone and Lorraine Hansberry, because I did not mention them, but Nina Simone is a force to be reckoned with in her own right. So many that I'm missing, but these are our ancestors that we must remember. Nina Simone, you are a genius, and we thank you for your incredible contribution to music in terms of being a piano. And you are truly the high priestess of soul. You are truly a goddess in our eyes. So the Black American wants to honor you, Nina Simone. And Lorraine Hansberry, who is a playwright genius in her own right. She created A Raisin in the Sun, which was also turned into several variations of movies. So it is so many Black Americans that there are so many Black Americans that have literally changed the course of history with their music contributions and contributions to art. And it is something that needed to be talked about in a way that I'm very passionate about. And I'm very serious about this because we have so many, even today, we have, artists who are amazing. Of course, we have Beyonce. And she just released, Black is King is one of her latest projects. And I thought that was one of a very beautiful project. Most of her work is awesome. And she's an amazing talent. So I think right now she's kind of one of the top, that we have left, to be honest, that is talent, as far as, there's no co-opted, there's no bullshit. She's just genuinely talented. And of course, when you listen to Beyonce's music, we get to see a Black American in full force, creating beautifully, as well as her sister Solange, which is also Black American music. Like, when you listen to Solange, you could feel the Black American in it. Me personally, I could feel the hoodoo. I could feel our ancestors in that music. I can, in Solange's music. And that's what our ancestors want. They want to be able to feel themselves in our music. They want to bless us on the other side, and they're still with us. So we have to remember all of their names. There's so many. Please, if you know of any, just say it out loud as you're listening to this video, anyone that you mention, because we're generating power from the ancestral level, from the ancestral cellular memory, to be able to carry on as Black Americans today and everything that we do. And music and arts is just one of them. We will always continue to create. We've created trap music, house music. And again, we would be sitting here forever if I just wanted to really just go on about everything that we have done. But remember, trap and then house was really popular. It's still popular now. I think house music is so amazing. Even though that's not my I didn't grow up knowing about house music until recently, because I think that originated in the Maryland, Washington area, and I'm from New York, so there was no such thing as house music growing up. I've got introduced to that by Black Americans and from Washington, and even in I think I even met one from Chicago. I think they got some of that in Chicago now. But our music capabilities and the capability to produce music and the capability to literally make whole genres of music that influence the entire world is quite amazing. And Black Americans, you need to be proud of that. You need to gatekeep, and you don't need to have vultures and culture vultures all in your shit. People who try to steal from you and take from you and make money off of you. You need to be very particular about how you go about benefiting from your art and music going forward. And we're doing a pretty good job of that. You self-publish your stuff and make sure you copyright all of your stuff. Make sure you, do whatever you can do to protect your work. And Black American, I'm so proud of everything that we have done. I'm so proud of our Black American ancestors in terms of music and art. And we got some more to go. We only got 3 more videos. I'm not going to tell y'all. They're going to be surprises of what we're going to cover next. But I told y'all that we were going to go through some pain before we got through, more of the things that we have done, things that we should absolutely be proud of. And these are the things that we should be proud of: arts and music, our inventions that I covered in the last video. So I can't stress enough. I'm reiterating the point over and over again. So if I sound redundant, I do apologize. But we must honor those Black American ancestors and music and the arts, and which is the topic of this video. Black American, you have been doing this for hundreds of years, and you're going to move forward and do even more creations, more genres, and continue to keep your head up to the sky. So remember, go put that song in right now. Go to YouTube and put in Earth, Wind, and Fire. Keep your head to the sky. And speaking of Earth, Wind, and Fire, they should have been, again, there's so many that I missed, like Earth, Wind, and Fire. Are you kidding me? They are geniuses. Like, we love Earth, Wind, and Fire. We thank them so much for everything they have done. They are truly a brilliant group. And I've missed so many groups. I just feel so bad because I've oh my gosh, we need to honor our ancestors. And we may do, an ancestral video, just ancestors. Just pure ancestor, all Black American ancestors, just honoring our ancestors. Because even though, this is documented history that I'm showing y'all, as far as this video series, the Black American series is history. It is a documentation of our history, and it is showing our culture, it's showing everything, but it has that spiritual aspect. As far as when I'm saying our deceased loved one's name, we giving them that energy and we're honoring them. And that's very important to me in any telling of history, to honor those ancestors. So that's why I do that, and that's why I have that very unorthodox approach. I curse, I get spiritual, I honor ancestors, I'll share personal stories. So that's what makes it different than a traditional docuseries or PBS type stuff that you would see. That's what makes my stuff very much different, but the information is literally still the same. I'm getting this stuff from the Library of Congress. I'm getting this stuff from Harvard. I'm getting this stuff from University of Pennsylvania. I'm getting this stuff from credible scholars and ethnographers and sociologists. I'm not just pulling stuff out my ass, I do my research. I am a credible scholar, and I take this stuff very serious, but I'm just unorthodox, and I'm not, a part of the machine. So it is what it is. So I love y'all so much. Please keep your head up, and I'm gonna talk to y'all later. Bye.